A group of new soldiers were bathing in the river when one of them suddenly stepped on something. Bubbles started rising from the water. As they looked around in confusion, rows of wooden stakes rose from the riverbed. Wires connected the stakes, and many landmines were hanging from the wires. It was a minefield. They finally realized it, but it was already too late. Then, a larger mine suddenly surfaced. It had a skull symbol on it, showing it was extremely powerful. The man quickly recognized it. It was a mother mine. If it exploded, all the smaller mines around it would go off too. Meanwhile, the captain still hadn't heard back from the three men he sent to scout ahead, so he led a team to check on them. When he saw the scene, he pulled out his pistol and fired at one of the wooden stakes. The soldiers were terrified by what he did, but the captain told them the surrounding mines were just distractions. As long as the fuse on the mother mine could be removed, the other mines wouldn't explode. But no one could go into the minefield without risking an explosion, so the closest young soldier had to try. He had never handled this kind of mine before, but for the sake of his friend and himself, he gathered his courage. Following the captain's instructions, he carefully took a pair of pliers and a wire from the man's pocket, then inserted the wire into a small hole in the wooden stake. When he clipped the red wire, everyone held their breath, but nothing exploded. He kept going, cutting the second red wire, then the third. Just then, the captain noticed a log floating down from upstream. Worried that it might disturb the soldier working on the mine, he swam over and held the log in place. Meanwhile, the young soldier cut the last red wire, but he still needed to cut all the blue wires too. One of the wounded men couldn't take it anymore. The rising wires had cut into his back, and he was bleeding badly. He nearly passed out. The young soldier saw his friend's pain and began to panic. His hands started shaking after being tense for so long. Finally, with tears in his eyes, he cut the last blue wire. The mother mine slowly sank into the water. His wounded friend collapsed, and the man quickly grabbed him with one hand and pulled the young soldier with the other. But suddenly, more bubbles appeared in the water. It was a delayed fuse. The captain shouted for everyone to dive underwater. A second later, all the mines exploded. When the explosions ended, the three young soldiers climbed back to shore. But the captain was missing. They searched downstream and finally found the floating log. Thinking the captain had died, everyone felt heartbroken until he suddenly popped out of the water.